Howdy, folks. Figured I'd come back, give you some stories about my interactions with the police, and if you're interested, you can hang around to the end of the video and see about some of the pipe stands that I've been working on. I'm gonna have them up for sale in the not so distant future, and they're customizable by you guys, so that'll be fun. So, previous story about my interaction with police. I was a small child at the time. I was 6-ish, 7 maybe. By the way, in the mirror here, Carter Hall. But anyway, so some time passes. There's some things that I witness from police with interactions with others that I wasn't directly involved. So for now, I'm going to leave those out. But the next interaction I have directly with law enforcement technically was a game warden. I would have been 13, 14. And living down on the farm, my dad's place. It was 125 acres. And the roadway coming in stopped. The road itself stopped at the mailbox. There was a road that went on that we maintained, but along that road there were multiple no trespassing signs. The second driveway that went up to the back of the house into the barns, there were 2 no trespassing signs on either side of the roadway, and then halfway down there was another on a fence post. And then at the far end there was a gate that was open most of the year, unless we put cattle back there to graze. And on either side of that, there was no trespassing signs. So, this had been early fall. And, well, I guess it had been a little bit late. Mid-fall. Mid-fall. And deer season had just started for archery. And me and my dad were getting ready to go out and work on fence. As a standard rule of thumb, anytime we went into the woods, we carried firearms. My dad typically carried a revolver with him. It was his gun of choice. Sometimes he would carry a shotgun or a rifle, or depending on where we were going to be. And I typically carried either a pump action shotgun or an SKS that I had. It was a real Russian SKS. Maybe it's what you can trade for when you were young back then. Anyway, we're loading up four-wheeler, his four-wheeler, and I got a three-wheeler. Has no rack, so we have to put everything on there. And a game warden drives past. And my dad tells me, go follow him and don't let him go driving through the hayfield, which is through the gate at the far end. So, not thinking, I grab my rifle, throw it over my shoulder, slung crossways, and I take off on the three-wheeler. And as I get there, he's at the gate, and he starts to go through. Instead of taking the path to the left, which is where you would normally drive, he drives straight out in the middle of this hayfield. I blow by him, and I get in front of him, and I start riding back and forth with doing wheelies. We're 10 or 15 feet into the field at this point, maybe 20. I'm driving back and forth. I won't let him cross. I won't let him go around me. He tries. I drive circles around him. He turns around finally. He backs up and turns around. And as soon as he does that, I shoot past him. We're real close. I wasn't very much room, but I shot past him and beeline back to the barn, or Dad was. And he was still loading stuff up. He was loading up tools and whatnot for fixing fence. And he's like, did he go into the hayfield? I was like, yeah. Well, I get there and he asked, did he go in the hayfield? I was like, yeah, he loaded into the hayfield. I stopped him before he got too far, though. You're like, all right, just stay over there. I'm like, why? He's like, he's going to come over here and yell at you for impeding him. I'm like, okay. So I stand over there where he tells me to. I lay my rifle up against the wall of the barn. Game warden pulls in, and he starts throwing a fit, yelling and screaming about, you can't stop me from going anywhere I want. I'm allowed to. I got to check for you illegally poaching deer. And Dad didn't take shit from anybody back then. And he basically said, you passed 5 no trespassing signs to get there, and then you damaged my crop of hay. And he immediately starts to backpedal. Well, he then tries to divert the attention from that to me. He's like, what are you doing driving around with a rifle and blocking me? Dad's like, he's doing exactly what I told him to, not let you drive through that hayfield. And he carries a rifle because of wild dogs. Well, that's a good way to get a boy hurt. Dad's like, if you hurt that boy, it'll be the last thing you do. And he got mad and stormed off. My dad is friends with the lead game warden in the area. He calls him up and tells him what happened. I said, I'll talk to him. Well, about 2 weeks later, it's 3:30 in the morning. Somebody drives past the house and spotlights the barn, the garage, the hayfield, the bottom hayfield, and then drives to the back hayfield. Well, it woke me up because we were on the end of a dead-end road. If you hear anybody coming down the dead-end road at that time of night, it wakes you up. So I get up and I scurry downstairs. And I kept my SKS in the cubby of the stairwell all the time. All seasons. And my dad just so happened to have his shotgun there that he uses to deer hunt. Well, they creep all the way down to the back end, and they come creeping back. Here comes Dad out of his bedroom, walks into the living room, wearing nothing but his boxer shorts. And they creep up the road all nice and slow. And they were back to back for 4 or 5 minutes. And creeps, goes past the first driveway, which is technically the second driveway, but the first driveway on the way out. And he gets parallel with the front of the house, in between the front of the house and the driveway where it dumps out into the county road. And Dad rolls out the front door of the house with that 12 gauge and puts a slug into the dirt. 4 or 5 foot in front of that vehicle. Every light on that thing came on. Lights, sirens, spotlights, headlights, taillights, everything. And the guy driving it stomps it. Takes off like a bat out of hell. Well, my dad immediately gets on the phone and calls the head game warden. Middle of the night, wakes him up. And tells him what's going on, what he did. And the head game warden says, I'll figure out what's going on and I'll take care of it. Well, 2 or 3 days later, I was at school when this happened. My dad was home. 2 or 3 days later, the head game warden and the game warden that ripped me and my dad got in a shouting match with originally show up. And that game warden makes him apologize to my dad for coming back after he was told not to. So, game warden's a little bit different than a cop, but it was a pretty good interaction. It was pretty funny. You can see where some people might consider it to be dickish, and it was for him because he wasn't supposed to back her. And I was in every right of mind to stop him. My dad told me to, you know. So that's all said and done. Another 2 years pass. We're jumping ahead a couple years here. I get my learner's permit. My dad has, let's see, so this had been 90, I want to say 95, 94, 94. I've been 15 to 94. So I just got my learner's permit. Dad had a brand new S10. And it was the first generation rounded body style. And 5-speed. And I pestered him all week. Can I drive it? 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 He hadn't had it 6 months. Finally, he breaks down. He's like, all right, sure, you can drive it. And I was like, where are we going? He's like, we're going to go to town, get dinner. So going to town is actually a 15, 16-mile drive from his house. So we load up, we take off, and we go going up the highway. And Dad tells me to turn the headlights on because it's getting close to sunset. It's not quite there yet, but follow all the rules. Trying to teach me the best. So, turn the headlights on. We're going up the highway. We're about halfway there. And lo and behold, cop passing us, red and blues come on. He stomps the brakes, spins it around. And Dad's like, pull over, pull over. I pull over. I'm a bit flustered, panicked. And I stall it. Cop rolls up. I'm 90% off the road. He's like, move the truck forward a little bit and get all the way off the road. Which means I'm going to be completely in the grass except for the driver's side tires. So I start up and I move it. And he's like, what are you so nervous for? And my dad immediately chimes in. He goes, just got his permit. First time in this truck. Cop laughs. Leans over, looks in the truck. He's like, oh, how's it going, Rick? Which is my dad. And the whole time my dad's over there doing this thing with his foot where he's kicking something. And I didn't know what he was doing. He's like, what you got on you today? My dad always carries a pistol. Always has. Always did. And he laughs, and he knows the guy. He's a state trooper he's good friends with. He goes, well, it ain't exactly on me. It's under the seat. He's like, well, what is it? And he reaches down, pulls it out, and he's like, it's a 357. I believe it was his Taurus at this point. And cop's like, can I see it? And Dad, hands it over to him. The cop takes out the thing, pops the cylinder open, checks it, looks at it, puts it back together, hands him the pistol back. He's like, do you know why I pulled you over? And I was like, I have no clue. I wasn't speeding. I was on my side of the road. He's like, well, the truck has a headlight out. I'm just going to give you a warning. It's no fault of yours. I was like, cool, thanks. He vanishes for a little bit. He takes my permit, and he takes my dad's driver's license, and he vanishes for a little bit, and he comes back. And he hands me the permit, and he hands my dad the driver's license. He's like, next time, don't be so nervous. Be nice and pull it over gently. Everything will be fine. We're not out to get you. I was like, okay, cool. So, we're going our merry way. That was a great interaction. Nice cop, friendly. Probably helped my dad knew him, but the next set of stories about the Bowleys becomes a little bit more interesting and a little bit more noteworthy. 16 plus, driving on my own. Alright, that's the end of the stories for this one. Now, if you're interested in the pipe stands, what I'm going to show you here, this is the first pipe stand I made. I've had it 6+ months. It's a prototype, and it's actually 2 prototypes, because I made 2 identical pieces, or 2 identical sides, and the top. So, and later I modified one end and one side. So, as you can see, one side's way smaller than the other. That smaller side actually holds pipes really nice, surprisingly. This pipe stand was what I would consider a codger pipe stand. It holds small pipes, Grabos and Rossi Piccolos and K Woodies and that type of thing. Beautifully, they fit on there nicely. There's just enough room. Well, I wanted to try it, hold bigger pipes. So, at that point, I made the end a little bit more decorative. I made the base bigger. The pockets aren't nearly deep enough on this particular design. But I used it as it sets here for 6 months. Now, maybe longer than that, maybe closer to a year. And I tried it out and I had no problems. I've since completely redesigned the bases. The sides been changed a little bit, and you'll see that here in a few, because I use the same sides on the next pipe stand you're going to get to see. This thing is made for slightly larger pipes, and you can see that I've done cutouts. Well, there's more than one design of the cutouts. That's the octagons. The original design, the pockets weren't nearly deep enough, so I went back and redid the pockets, made them nice and deep. They will hold a large pipe very nicely. Well, if I can turn this thing around, you can see what I mean. And you'll see that fell off. I adjusted that too. The production models are much better. This thing will hold big pipes. Medium-sized to big pipes. I tested it with a 673 Dracula. I forget what size it is, but they're both Rhodesians, and they fit on their side-by-side snugly, but they did both fit. Now, I had a pipe stand. I have a pipe stand that I like a lot. It is an old wood Decatur Products Round 8. Now, if you've ever had a Decatur Products Round 8 and you liked it, I replicated it, but I've improved it in my personal opinion. Now, this was the original design. It's got a big octagon center with a giant hole to put pipe cleaners in. On the Round 8, those hoops are holes. I've taken the one side out and made it an actual hoop. Now, I'm going to sell the octagon version. I have it available. If somebody wants the octagon version, but that's not the actual one that I've made the better adjustments to. This thing has been adjusted also, though, so there is an adjusted version that is better than this one. Like I said, this is just a prototype. Here's the adjusted Round 8. Slightly smaller hole. Everything is clocked. Good and solid. And unlike the original where you had to fish the pipe up through the hole, you just set it in there. It's glorious. I've used this now 2, maybe 3 months to make sure everything is good to go. and I like it better than the original. Now, for those of you that don't know anything about 3D printing, that material is polylactic acid. It's food safe material. You're printing it using a 3D printer, and it can take a fair amount of heat. You're not going to want to, stick it in boiling water or throw it in a dishwasher to clean it. None of that stuff. But if you just set a hot pipe on it, you're not going to hurt it. So, if anybody has any questions, you can email me. My email is on the About Me section. If you have any questions or you would like to get one, the color palette is quite broad. I mean, you'll see that in the next video where I actually have the ones that are production grade. These are all prototypes. They're all printed in dark filament. This is what we had bulk of. My business partner, he's been working on a different side of this stuff, and I'm going to show some of his things too. He's been making flags and little signs. If you want a crazy sign made that says something funny, like pipe zone stay out or something, let me know. Give me this rough design and he'll print up something. He'll design up something that's small that you can sit on your desk or hang over on the wall. All right. Thank you, folks. Remember, if you ain't having fun, you aren't doing it right.